it was thicker. Inside, the language had escalated. What had once sounded like a misunderstanding now read like a formal claim. Pages outlined outstanding dues, accumulated penalties, and non-compliance with community regulations. The total amount was printed clearly near the bottom. $47,000. Not a suggestion, not an estimate, a demand. And beneath it, a deadline. The shift was immediate. What had been confusing was now aggressive. What had been ignorable was now pressing. Because the number changed everything. No one sends a bill like that by accident. The instinct was to find clarity. Maps were pulled out. Property boundaries reviewed. Old purchase documents checked again, line by line. Every detail confirmed what had always been known. The land wasn't part of any subdivision. It wasn't tied to any development. There was no record of an HOA agreement anywhere in the paperwork. Nothing connected. And yet the letters continued to act like everything already had. That's when the first real attempt was made to respond. A number listed at the bottom of the notice led to a voicemail system. Messages were left, clear, direct, asking for explanation. Days passed before anything came back. When it did, it wasn't helpful. The response didn't address the confusion. It didn't acknowledge the possibility of error. It simply repeated the claim. The property, according to their records, was within the association's jurisdiction. The dues were valid. The balance remained unpaid. And the deadline still stood. It felt like talking to something that wasn't listening. The representative remained steady, almost rehearsed. The system, they explained, operated based on recorded documentation. If the property appeared within the association's mapped jurisdiction, it was subject to its rules. There was a process to dispute it. But that process took time, and the deadline didn't wait. Leaving that office didn't resolve anything. It made things worse, because now it wasn't just confusion, it was a system that believed it was right. And systems don't back down easily. The next letter arrived faster than expected. This one carried a different tone entirely. No longer just a demand, it introduced consequences. Failure to resolve the balance could result in further action. Legal escalation. Enforcement measures that extended beyond paperwork. For the first time, the situation felt like it could reach beyond the mailbox. That's when everything shifted from reaction to preparation. Documentation became priority. Every letter was organized. Every envelope dated. Photos taken of where they had been placed. Copies of property deeds pulled again, this time alongside county records. Survey lines reviewed in detail. The goal wasn't just understanding anymore. It was proof. Because if this moved further, clarity wouldn't be enough. Evidence would be required. Meanwhile, something else began happening. The quiet observation returned. That same vehicle seen weeks earlier appeared again, but now it came closer. Not onto the property, but close enough to be noticed clearly. Sometimes parked along the road for longer than necessary. Sometimes slowing down near the entrance, lingering just enough to feel deliberate. It wasn't constant, but it was consistent enough to feel intentional. And paired with the letters, it started to feel like pressure, like someone was making sure the situation didn't fade into the background. The next escalation came without warning. A notice posted directly at the edge of the property, attached to a stake near the entrance road, visible from a distance. Official looking, printed, stamped. It referenced non-compliance again, but this time it wasn't private. It was public. Anyone passing by could see it. That changed the tone entirely, because now it wasn't just about payment. It was about presence. A statement placed on land that wasn't theirs. That's when the decision was made to push back directly. Not through voicemail, not through waiting, but formally. A written dispute was prepared, detailed, structured, supported by copies of every relevant document, property deeds, surveys, county records confirming boundaries and ownership. It was sent with confirmation, ensuring it couldn't be ignored. And for a brief moment, everything went quiet. No letters, no calls, no new notices, just silence. But this silence felt different. Not resolved, not finished, just paused. Because systems don't go silent unless something is happening behind the scenes. And that became clear when the next communication arrived. It wasn't another demand. It was a response to the dispute. But instead of resolving anything, it introduced something new. A scheduled review. A formal hearing process through the association's legal representatives. It wasn't optional. Attendance was strongly advised. The wording made one thing clear. They weren't backing down. They were doubling down. And now, they were prepared to defend their position. For a moment after the shift, nothing felt certain. The hearing didn't end with a dramatic declaration or a clear winner announced in real time. Instead, it settled into something quieter, controlled, procedural, almost restrained. The kind of ending that doesn't explode outward but instead starts spreading beneath the surface. Because once the flaw in their claim had been exposed, everything that followed had to be handled carefully. The officials overseeing the process didn't rush to conclusions. They reviewed the documents again, cross-checking records, verifying timelines, examining the discrepancy between what had been filed internally by the association and what had been legally recognized at the county level. And the more they looked, the clearer it became. The HOA had built its entire claim on something that didn't hold legal weight. What they considered jurisdiction was based on planned expansion, not approved authority. Their internal records treated future development as if it already existed, as if intention alone created obligation. But in reality, none of that translated into enforceable control over the land. Not then, not now, not ever. When the final determination came through, it wasn't loud, but it was absolute. The claim was dismissed in full. The $47,000 demand void. Every notice, every penalty, every accumulated fee, invalid. Just like that, the pressure that had been building for weeks disappeared. But the impact didn't stop there, because the ruling didn't just address the money. It addressed the behavior behind it. In the formal explanation, there was language that went beyond simple dismissal. It referenced overreach, misapplication of authority, improper enforcement based on non-binding records. Carefully worded, but clear enough to understand. The HOA hadn't just made a mistake. They had acted outside their limits. And that distinction mattered, because once it was written into record, it couldn't be ignored or repeated without consequence. The land remained what it had always been, independent, unclaimed, unaffected by a system that had tried to extend itself too far. And the quiet that returned afterward felt different than before. Not just peaceful, certain, because sometimes protecting what's yours isn't about fighting harder. It's about standing firm long enough for the truth to catch up. And when it does, it doesn't just resolve the conflict. It resets the line between what can be controlled and what never should have been.